Hey everyone, welcome back to the Homestead Kitchen. Today I'm going to make some quick cookies. These ones are made like a sugar cookie with some jam. So it's a great way to use up any of that homemade jam you have left over. Today I'll probably be using some blueberry jam as well as some raspberry jam that we received in our CSA. I don't really like it on toast because of the seeds, but I know Chris really likes it a lot, so I'm sure he'll eat those cookies for me. I'm going to double this recipe, so I have 2 cups of butter to start, and we're going to get that in our KitchenAid and get going. Today is February 13th, and that is the last of the extra butter I have. I have about a quarter cup here for toast and things for the week, but I think that this is going to be the end of my pantry challenge. I do feel the need to go to Costco. This year has been extremely different, and we really didn't have the things set aside from the garden that we did in our previous years. Like I mentioned, we didn't have a good growing year for tomatoes or peppers, so we didn't have those things put aside in the freezer. So we ate differently, but we definitely felt more like we were missing out, or at least I did this year, and struggling more for some of those lunches and snacks, as well as some of the things for meals. So yesterday I stopped by our local grocery store, convenience store. It's really like an old-fashioned general store. They have everything. And I got some mushrooms as well as some peppers so I could make chili. And some herbs and spices because I was out and they have surprisingly good prices on those things there. So I did grab those while I was there. I spent about $100. So I also got milk and cheese and some chips and some alcohol. We got some beer and some wine and some Coca-Cola because that is my non-homesteading beverage of choice. Alright, so we're going to get our butter and sugar creaming. We're doubling this recipe, so we added 2 cups of butter, and we're going to add 2 cups of white sugar. Also going to add 2 eggs. These are our farm fresh eggs, so I'm going to crack them in a small bowl. I've never had one bad, but I have lost shells in them. And it's much easier to deal with when they're in a separate bowl or container. So that one's good. Everyone tells me you'll know when your home fresh eggs are bad, and I've luckily not yet experienced that smell. Adding vanilla to our wet ingredients. It's 1 teaspoon per batch with some extra. And now we're going to get our dry ingredients ready. We've got our flour here. We need 2.5 cups per recipe. So this is flour that is new to us. This is the Spearville flour. It's organic and it's grown locally and milled locally in New Brunswick. When I say locally, it's the next province over to us. But yeah, it's a bit more expensive, and I'm excited to see how this goes in our cookies. It says it can be used in place of all-purpose flour, so we'll see if we get that right texture. Last dry ingredient is some baking powder. It's a half teaspoon per recipe, so we'll do 2 half teaspoons because that's what we have here. And that's literally it for our dry ingredients. I'm just going to give them a quick stir with the measuring spoons, so we're not getting clumps. And that's it. It's a really, really simple recipe. Back over to our mixer, we've got all of our wet ingredients in and combined, and we're going to start adding in our dry ingredients. At the same time, our oven is preheating to 300 degrees. Okay, so that's all our dry ingredients. We're just going to let this mix until well combined. Okay, so that's cleaning the sides of the bowl. It's nice and combined. It's really just that easy for this cookie dough to come together. And we're going to take this off the stand mixer now, get our beater out of here, and start getting these on a pan. Okay, so we've got our batter off the mixer, we've got our cookie trays that we're going to use today, and some parchment paper. I'm just going to lay the parchment paper on the cookie sheets here. And this works for me because it makes a much easier cleanup. So one of my tricks to make life a little bit easier is to use cookie scoop. It's 1 inch, and the recipe calls for 1 inch cookies. So those are measured for me, and I'm going to get a much more consistent size and baking than I would if I had done this and selected the amount by myself. Without the measuring tool, if you don't have a cookie scoop, it's one of the things that I've found has made a really big difference in the kitchen. From filling muffin cups with batter to actually using it for cookies, meatballs, all kinds of stuff. So I'm going to give these a quick roll just so that they're a bit more consistent. Like you can see, this one is not very round. So quick roll, much more round. Looks like if you had hand rolled the cookie. And this recipe says about 4 dozen per recipe, so with our double batch we should estimate about 8 dozen. However, in the past I found that it's not at all correct with the 1-inch cookie scoop that I'm using, and that's fine. I might be using a 1.5-inch cookie scoop. Not entirely sure about that one. So now that I've got these all rolled, I'm just going to thumbprint them. You can use a spoon also. Alright, so for jam today, like I said, I've got some blueberry jam that I had made and some raspberry jam that came in our CSA. The recipe calls for a teaspoon of jam per cookie, and I'm just going to set that in that indent. And some blueberry. This is a pectin-free jam that I had made myself, and it is so thick. So yeah, if you don't want to buy the store-bought pectin, you certainly don't have to. I use lemon juice instead, and that's something I always have in my kitchen. I don't run out of. Alright, so each cookie is well topped with jam, and our oven is preheated, so we're going to put those in. I believe it's for about, oh, I did write it down. It says 22 to 24 minutes. So we're going to go on the 24-minute side because my oven is a bit on the cooler side, and I'll meet you back here when those are done. Okay, cookies are out of the oven. I let them sit for 3 minutes, and we're going to set them on our cooling racks. So these are our blueberry ones. And we have another 6 raspberry. Okay, so I'm going to let these cool, and then we'll put them on the stackable cooling rack when they're a bit more firm. I find it difficult to stack them sometimes when they're this soft, but this is a really handy space saver for when you want to do a big baking day. I'm going to set an oven mitt on my new countertop, and I'm going to set our cookie pan that is still a little warm on top. And we're going to get our next batch of cookies on the go. Spin that around so you can see it. So I only have 2 cookie sheets right now, so this is how we get things done. recipe does recommend like a melon baller to do this. I've also used my coring tool for like taking the hulls out of strawberries to do this. But I don't know where those are because we're still in kitchen progress. So today this will work. But I do have my wonderful new island to work with today. I have so much space. Before I'd be juggling cooling racks on the dining room table and whatever other space they would fit. So this is really exciting. I'm gonna set these aside and get our other cookie sheet. And we'll give one of these a try. So I don't know if it's the fact that I didn't use the right paddle in the KitchenAid. I didn't use the scrapey one. They seem a bit more dry than normal. I don't know if that's the new flour or not. Keep experimenting with it and see what we think. Alright, I had one of the raspberry cookies earlier. I'm going to try a blueberry one now. Very good. Not overly sweet, kind of more of a mix between a sugar cookie and a shortbread. Just a great cookie to use up some jam and have for snacks.
And this was our end result. Certainly not the 8 dozen the recipe had predicted, but that is just okay. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. If I can find it, I'll link the cookbook down below.